Hey guys, Ryan said, Lake St. Clair Fishing Guide. Continuing with our series, coming to the Great Lakes, trying to help out folks that have never been to the Great Lakes that are interested in coming out here and catching fish, or maybe you live in the area but you'd like to explore your Great Lakes a little bit more and learn how to catch some fish out there. Today we're going to talk about crankbaits, one of my favorite ways to catch them. For whatever reason, this is 2021, the last couple years the crankbait bite has been off a little bit, but I suspect it'll come back, and it's an awesome way to catch them. It is a numbers game. You do lose a little bit more fish on a crankbait than you might on a single hook bait like a tube or a Ned rig or a drop shot, but it's still a lot of fun to catch them. They hit it really hard and it's a lot of fun. So let's go through a few ideas. Let's first talk about the where, and then the when, and then we'll talk about the what and the how. So where, the good news is on the Great Lakes you can throw a crankbait anywhere you want. You can catch them in 3 feet on a crankbait, you can catch them in 20 feet on a crankbait, or deeper depending on where you're at. The crankbaits do not have to hit the bottom out here, so that's what's really nice about it. You know, if you fish down south, a lot of times you need those crankbaits grinding the bottom, and you can do that here definitely, but you don't have to. Our waters are clear enough and the smallmouth are aggressive enough that a lot of times you can swim a crankbait right over their head and they will come up and get it. So where should you throw a crankbait? Anywhere you want. Now the when's a little more particular. We'll talk about seasonal first and then talk about certain conditions. Seasonally, about the only time I don't throw a crankbait is from the start of the spawn till it starts getting really warm in the summer. I don't find that to be real effective during that time. There's other baits that work better, but pre-spawn, when it's cold out, up to when I start seeing them on beds, and then once I start feeling that summer heat again, we get those consistently warm days, it's time to get those crankbaits back out, and then all the way through the fall, they can be effective. So that's about the seasonal times that I throw them. As far as conditions, when do I throw them? Ideal crankbait day for me is having some wind, maybe a little bit of chop on the water, about a 1 foot chop or so at least, up to some big chops sometimes, you know, you get the 4 and 5 footers we get out here sometimes. But I do like to have some wind when I throw a crankbait. I have caught them when it's dead flat calm on a crankbait, but I found some other baits tend to work better. So I do like a little bit of wind, some sun, a little bit of clouds. Those high bright bluebird days, maybe not quite as much, but I do like the sun with a little bit of clouds mixed in. Seems to be the best kind of combination, you know. So those are my favorite conditions to throw a crankbait. There's not really a bad time to throw it and try it, but those are what I found to be the most ideal crankbait conditions. What are we going to throw on a crankbait? Definitely want to talk about tackle selection. I don't know, there's probably not something that's more important, a bait that's more important where tackle selection counts as much. Crankbait, biggest thing, you have to have a rod and reel that allows you to get it out there. I get some clients sometimes that bring their own tackle. We tie on a crankbait and they throw it out about 30 feet. They ain't gonna bite it. You have to have a rod and reel that allow you to launch that thing out there. We want to cover as much ground as possible. Smallmouth are visual feeders. They see things from far away and they'll come get them. So we want to get that crankbait out there. I'm partial to a Dobyns 764 CB. This rod here is the very first one I ever owned from Dobyns. This rod's about 12 years old. It's all faded and everything, but it still works great. I have several others of this model. It's a great all-around crankbait rod for the different sizes that you need to throw out here. It's 7'6", medium action. It's kind of a graphite glass composite, so it's not straight glass, although those work really good. But it's got enough of a parabolic bend to it that it can really load up when you get those fish. So choosing a really good rod is important when crankbait fishing. I like a slower gear ratio reel myself. Some guys like a higher. This is a 6.4 Lew's BB1 Pro. As far as line goes, 12 pounds a good starter. You can go down to 10, up to 15. I do throw some 15-pound line with some bigger crankbaits, but most of them I throw 10 to 12-pound line. As far as what kind of crankbaits, if really 2 crankbaits you really need when you're coming up here, pick your favorites, but if you're not sure what to pick, a Strike King Series 5 and a Rapala DT10, those will cover everything that you need to. But it's a really good crankbait. This will cover a lot of the depth range you need to on Lake St. Clair and Lake Erie and some of the other lakes. I do go up. I do throw a Strike King Series 6, especially in the fall when we get big shad that start moving, or big perch. You know, later in the fall they like some big baits, and I'll throw a Strike King Series 6. Then we'll go down sometimes too. You know, a Series 3 or a Rapala DT10 at certain times of the year can play real well. But if you have a DT10 and you have a Strike King Series 5, you're going to cover almost everything you need to, and then you can kind of experiment from there and see what else works for you. As far as colors, you know, it's kind of a mix-up. I switch it up between kind of translucent shad colors and then your more natural like perch colors. like that one there. So I do a little bit of both of these, are really what I mix it up between, and usually one of those will do the job. So that's the what, a little bit of detail there on the what. As far as to how to throw the crankbait, as I mentioned before, you want to launch it. You just got to get out there. The smallmouth are down there near the bottom a lot of times, so you need it to get its maximum depth to call them up. So make sure that you get it out there. As far as your retrieve, I like to mix it up. Smallmouth like erratic things, so I'll start with a steady retrieve, but you know, about a third of the way through the retrieve, I might give a few snaps of the reel, or I might pause it and then give a few snaps. So it is good. It is beneficial to mix it up. They will hit it on a steady retrieve. Sometimes that's the best. It's really best to experiment with the how. I do find overall though that a little bit of mix up in your retrieve can help things. So those are the pointers. Feel free to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram if you've got more questions. I love talking fishing. I especially love talking crankbaits. We can talk about hook selection, line, all that for days. Feel free to hit me up, and we'll see you on the next video.